The Samsung Galaxy S20 series is now available to pre-order, or if you want to get it at stores, wait until 6 March. That means you have a little bit of time to save money and decide which model you want to get. And I am here to sort of help you decide on that. So, which Galaxy S20 phone should you buy? Now, I want to start off by mentioning the notable similarities between the three models, which are the 120Hz display at 1080p resolution. If you want 1440p resolution, you have to bump it down to 60Hz. There's an Exynos 990 chipset and 128GB of internal storage, which is the same across the board. Alright, so now the major difference, the biggest difference between the three is that the S20 Ultra has support for 5G connectivity. The other two, the cheaper variants, only support LTE. Now, we'll talk about this a bit later. Also, one new feature with the S20 series is the single-take photography mode, meaning it uses every sensor at the back of your phone to take sort of clips of the event or the scenario, and from those clips, you can take stills, individual images of that scene. You get different compositions, different angles, and maybe even different effects. So from there, you can choose which one you want and which one you don't want. A really neat feature that I'm really excited to use. So for 4,999 ringgit, this is what you're spending on the S20 Ultra. 108MP camera with 100x digital zoom thanks to the telephoto lens, 12GB of RAM, a massive 6.9-inch display, and a 5000 mAh battery with 45 watts of fast charging support, but it comes in a separate box, so you need to get a third-party version of that. So, is it worth it? Well, speaking about the 108MP camera, if you're really into high-res photography, if you want to get into professional photography, then maybe. But you also have to remember that the Xiaomi Mi Note 10 also has a 108MP camera for half the price of the S20 Ultra. So if you really just want the high-res photography, I would suggest maybe go for that. But what the S20 Ultra offers is very short shutter light, very low shutter light when it comes to 108MP photography, where on the Xiaomi Mi Note 10 is a bit longer. So this is definitely more premium feeling. Besides that, you also get a massive display, so if you're into that, then maybe this could be the phone for you. If 108MP photography isn't really your thing, you're really just paying for the 5G support, which yes, it's coming to Malaysia very soon, but even then, this phone only supports sub-6 GHz bands and not the faster millimeter waves. So maybe that's one thing to take into consideration. And yes, for 5,000 ringgit, you are paying for a much bigger phone, more RAM, you're still getting the same internal storage, the same features all around, but just better cameras and 5G connectivity. So I'll let you decide whether you want that or not. Now we move on to the actual successors to the S10 and S10 Plus, which is the S20 and S20 Plus. The clear difference between the two is in the size. The S20 is 6.2 inches only and the S20 Plus is 6.7 inches, which is like a massive difference. Like the S20 Ultra, this also has a 120Hz refresh rate display, same thing at 1080p. You want 1440p, you need to bump it down to 60Hz. 128's internal storage, same thing, but you only get 8GB of RAM. Same Exynos 990 chipset, but no 5G support. But it's also much cheaper. The S20 is priced at 3,599 ringgit, S20 Plus 3,999. 4,000 ringgit. Now, these are really good all-rounder phones as they should be for flagship devices. So which of these two should you pick? Well, the S20 Plus has an extra lens, a depth sensor camera, a depth vision camera, or they call it, and this lets you scan objects in 3D or calculate time of flight. So it's useful if you like bokeh effects and all that jazz. Elsewhere, you still get a 64MP telephoto lens with up to 30x zoom, a 12MP main lens, and a 12MP ultra-wide lens. The same on the S20 as well. So size and camera is one thing you're paying extra for the S20 Plus, and that's pretty much it. Everything else is the same. Oh, except for the battery size. You get a 4,500 mAh battery on the S20 Plus, which is a bit bigger than the S20. It supports up to 25 watts of fast charging. Now, if you're still thinking if 4,000 ringgit is still a lot to pay for a phone, remember that you are paying for LPDDR5 RAM, 8GB, which I think is more than enough for most people. for everyone in fact. And you're also paying for UFS 3.0 internal storage, even though it's just 128 gigabytes of it. You can expand via micro SD card, so there's that, okay? So at the end of the day, if you take away the S20 Ultra and you just look at the S20 and S20 Plus, what you're paying extra for is camera and size. If you're not that into photography anyways, the S20 is actually more than enough. It's actually the people's phone. For 3,599 ringgit, it's good enough for most people. For the enthusiast, then the S20 Plus will be for you, especially with the larger 6.7-inch display. Now, is that extra 400 ringgit worth it to spend on better camera, bigger display? Yes, absolutely yes. This will future-proof you for at least 3 years, maybe 5 years. It's also sturdily built. You can go ahead and watch our hands-on video where we talk about how it feels and how it looks. It's a great phone. Now, I would suggest that you stay away from the Ultra unless you really want 5G connectivity and you have the money to spend. Remember that if you really just want 5G smartphones, there's the cheaper option in the Huawei Mate 30 Pro and the Oppo Reno 5G. These are cheaper. But of course, the Samsung is the more premium option. It's newer, it has the latest software, the latest cameras and latest chipset, okay? But if you're more like the casual consumers, the S20 and S20 Plus will do. You like cameras, you like bigger display, S20 Plus is for you. You don't need all that, S20 is for you. So I hope that this video has sort of helped you decide on which S20 you should get. Remember that the official sale starts this 6th March, so you still have a bit of time to save money and decide on which phone you want. 5G is coming out later this year, so you can also take your time and decide whether you want 5G or not. Okay, so this is Victor signing out. Remember to like and subscribe. Bye-bye.